Welcome back. With me right now is Joan Brown, and Joan is the president of the Pickleball Club. And as you may have been hearing right now, the boards and GRF and all are kind of contending with about building some courts for them and how they're going to do it and all. There's a meeting coming up all about that. But first, we want to find out pickleball. What is it? Because I think there are a lot of people who certainly have heard the name and maybe know somebody who plays it, but they're not exactly sure what it's about.
It's actually a game that was invented in like 1963, around the same time that the village formed.
Yeah.
And the idea was to make a game that everybody could play and play pretty equally. And they took all of the racket sports and combined them into one game and made some improvements over the years. So this is the paddle, very light.
Can I see it? Can I?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, it is pretty light. Yeah.
And we play with a ball that looks just like a wiffle ball of our youth.
And that's how it started, am I right?
And that's how it started. They went to the garage and they took out what equipment do we have in the garage that we can make a game out of. And so it's played on a court, a badminton-sized court, the same size as badminton, about 1/3 the size.
Oh, there goes the ball.
1/3 the size of a tennis court. So there's less running involved. It's easier on the body because of that, and it's pretty easy to learn. I think that's one of the great advantages of it. And it equalizes the players. You know, like in tennis, the guy with the big serve, it's boring to watch, but he's slamming a serve in the other box, and the other guy may return it, may not return it. In pickleball, you only get one serve, and it's underhanded, so that the ball will be in play.
Yeah.
And then also in tennis, you see the guy taking the net, where he's on top of the net, and nothing is going to get past him. The way they created pickleball, 7 feet back from the net is where you have to stand. You can't get ahead of that unless the ball bounces in there.
Okay.
So that you can't get too close and just put everything away. So there's a lot of playing back and forth, and there's a lot of strategy involved. There's a dinking part of the game where you hit a softball into that first 7 feet, and you'll see it goes back and forth between the two sides until somebody makes a mistake and puts the ball a little high, and then they put it away.
Okay.
So there's a lot of strategy, there's some lobbing involved.
Does the ball, unlike tennis, the ball doesn't bounce?
It does bounce.
Oh, it does?
But it's not a huge bounce, you know.
Okay. But that's part of the game.
Right.
It doesn't stay in the air like badminton then.
Right,
okay.
right.
All right.
It's played like tennis down, on the court. And you can learn the game pretty quickly. We have a lot of people who have never played any sports who can get on a pickleball court pretty fast and play a low-level game.
Well, I've seen it all around, not just here. I've seen like banners up, even up where I live, pickleball league starting up and all kinds of things. So
a lot of places. When we first started here, we started in 2011 on the courts that used to be the first tennis courts here. So they were built in the 60s. They had 2 tennis courts within Gate 12. And when they built the new tennis complex, those courts became paddle tennis courts.
Right, which is different.
Which is different. Again, it's played with a smaller paddle, a heavier paddle than this, and a dead tennis ball.
Okay.
But we were able to bring temporary nets, which we're still playing with temporary nets on those paddle tennis courts.
Okay.
And at the time we started, there were only 2 places that had pickleball around. Tustin and Crown
I'd never
Valley.
heard of it, as I said. Now it's all over.
And then Crown Valley and Tustin have gotten the new complexes, and they've got it in Costa Mesa, Laguna Hills, Lake Forest, Newport Coast, Newport Beach, Ladera Ranch, Mission Viejo. All around us have their new courts. Yeah. And we're still waiting.
And that brings us to what the topic is, that the main reason you're on.
Right.
Is that we saw over the last few months of 2017 that at one point in time, GRF, I believe, approved the courts finally at the end. I think the last meeting in forgive me if I'm wrong, October or November, but then it was kind of taken back because the other mutual boards were like, wait a minute here, this is right at that threshold, that magic threshold that we need to have a say in this. And so therefore, it was kind of put back on the table again. And there's going to be a meeting. Is it, do I have it right, the 30th coming up? Yes.
Right, that's a corporate meeting.
A corporate meeting, meeting all boards, and that's the topic. It's a one-topic meeting.
Right, as I understand it anyway.
Yeah, as I understand it as well.
Actually, the project was approved in 2012.
Yes. You're right, that's right.
2012,
that's right.
It was approved. The recommendation from the VMS staff, the architects and engineers, was that the courts that we have now, the paddle tennis courts, the old tennis courts, have big chunks of surface that come out of it. And it's dangerous.
Yes.
In fact, they put up a sign saying, play at your own risk, which I think is an embarrassment to the village. But right at the court entrance, it's irregular surface, play at your own risk. They cannot fix these courts adequately. At least that's what the study in 2012 said.
Okay.
That because they were built in a way that they no longer build courts. You know, like the new tennis courts were not built the way these courts were built.
Right.
And along the joints of the old courts, it keeps cracking and will keep cracking. And so in 2012, the staff said, we can't fix these adequately. It's creating a problem for us. And also pickleball is a rising sport. We should build new courts. And we've been trying to get that to happen for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well,
so we many sites have been considered. And in November, there was a bylaw change in 2015 that said you couldn't build a new facility of a certain size and money without it going to the corporate members. And that's where we are now.
Yes.
Because they did have a contract in November, but that contract was so lean. It had no electricity, had no water in it. It's like, this is not the way that we build things in Laguna Woods. If we're going to do it, let's build something that really is functional.
Okay, so we'll tell you more about that meeting as we get closer to it, but certainly, if you're interested in pickleball, you're a player, it's a meeting you want to attend.
I think it's open to the public. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I believe it is. And as far as people who just want to learn to play pickleball, how can they learn? Are there certain days that you folks have, like beginning games or something?
Right. Well, we have beginning games, but more important than that, we have lessons, because we think everyone should take a lesson. And on Saturday mornings, indoors, in the mini gym, where it's a controlled environment, at 10 o'clock, Roy Higa gives lessons. And for anybody needs any information about lessons, we have and these are free lessons. Roy is just a nice guy. There's another person, Mike, is giving lessons and does one-on-one drills. On all the information about lessons and the hours of play are on our club webpage in Laguna Woods website.
All right, very good. Joan, good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me a little lesson, so to speak, on what pickleball is all about.
You.
I appreciate it, and it is growing, believe me. Like I said, I see it in my area and the community recreation things, and for all ages. Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back. We'll get you on.